Grenville and welcome to Faery Wood. Today we're going to be talking about inner work, what it is, why we need to do it, and how we can help you through it at Healing Owl and Faery Wood. We all have a murky past or things we're not proud of that we don't want others to discover, so we bury it deep inside us, hoping that it'll never see the light of day again. These are our inner demons. Have you met yours? Your shadow self? Our shadow self is the place inside us that causes us to feel ashamed, ugly, scared, or unworthy. The shadow self is our dark side which we choose to keep locked up deep inside and disown, but to our peril. When we don't face our shadow self, it'll be sure to look us up instead and claw its way into our everyday reality. We'll see our shadow self in illness, self-loathing, failed relationships, addictions, mental pressures, and what feels like a complete disconnect with spirit or creator. The question now becomes, are we finally ready to face our demons in a proper manner? Are we now ready to walk the path less travelled in order to be free? Are we willing to face what we and others have rejected in ourselves? Are we ready to experience unconditional self-love? If so, it's essential that we have a face-to-face and meet up with our shadow self. Warning, this cannot be done half-assed. If you're a spiritual seeker that just wants to dip your toe in the water, then leave it alone. Meeting our shadow self will and is essential to trigger, provoke, challenge, and make us jump in with both feet in order to clear the air. Our shadow self has a voice, and all it wants is an opportunity to be heard, to be acknowledged, and to be loved. It only has our best interest at heart and has been misunderstood our whole life. Let it have its voice. If you're not prepared to go all in with your inner work, then Healing Owl and Faery Wood may not be for you. Just wanting to be 5D is not enough. Your mindset needs to be no matter what. If we're not willing to be brutally honest with ourselves, because the only one that we're fooling is ourselves, to revisit the traumas and the murky corners of our shame, then it's best not to waste your time. That's okay, because it may be too deep and too intense for you to bear at this time, because we're all at different places along our journey. It's your choice and your prerogative as free will. That being said, if you want to get to 5D, you will have to address the elephant in the room eventually, but it can wait until you're in a position to be totally committed. Healing Owl and Faery Wood is for those willing to face their inner demons no matter what and are ready to experience change and a transition in every cell of their being. It's not for the faint-hearted, and it is important to understand the gravity of inner work. So why do shadow work? Carl Jung famously quoted, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." Inner work is probably one of the most powerful ways of healing. We become whole, not just in ourselves, but everything that we interact with. It's a spiritual illumination. New Age love and light only gets us so far. It won't heal our wounds. Making it all sparkly with unicorns won't make the negative within us go away either. If we want to go to 5D, we need to face what we created in 3D first. The good news is that if we created it in the first place, we can uncreate it too. For our Rite of Passage, we must each revisit our murky underworld in order to step through the veil and become fulfilled, joyous, and awakened beings. Rite of Passage is described as a ceremony or ritual of the passage which occurs when an individual leaves one group to enter another. The Rite of Passage honours the need to explore and embrace all parts of ourselves. The shadow self is the vital ingredient needed for this spiritual path that you choose, because it embraces the whole and doesn't step around or ignore the bits that we've consciously tried to ignore. No man left behind, so to speak. It's only through shadow work that we truly free ourselves to heal, grow, forgive, love and transform. That is why we explore everything that makes us feel angry, jealous, fearful, guilt-ridden, hateful, sad, and anything else that gets triggered so that it can be first integrated and then released. The good news is that whether we know this or not, we all chose to be here for this time, and we all chose to do our part in order to assist with the awakening. We've now got to the point where we can no longer sit on the fence, and we have to choose between 3D and 5D. The choice is pivotal. There's an old saying about knowing just enough to be dangerous. The common example of this that we see are youngsters who have just learned to drive who now think that they're the next budding NASCAR champion. The same is equally true for inner work too. Let me explain. When the pain is bad enough, we eventually decide to do something about it, without really wanting to do it ourselves. Often, we choose to go to someone else for them to fix it for us. This is a double-edged sword, and 9 times out of 10 will come back to bite you hard. We fall under the illusion that we've done our inner work because we feel much better. Initially, we do, and that feeling of relief may last a long time. But in the reality of what really needs to be done, it's just a band-aid to make us feel better. We can dress it up with fancy trimmings of they did this and they did that and whatever other excuse we wish to label it with. But the hard truth is that we didn't do it ourselves. The scab got picked off and the wounds look cleaner and it heals over, all fixed. Wrong! When someone else does it for us, we haven't understood what's happened, and we're just going to carry on doing the same bad habits that created the shit show in the first place. We may have removed the scab, but we failed to squeeze out the pus. So the body then has to deal with it itself because we're not going to, and hides it around the body waiting for the wheel to come off the next time. And it will, and waits to see if we sort it out then. The universe and spirit talks to us all the time. Usually we just don't listen, so spirit creates a pattern. It usually comes in the form of ask, tell, make. The ask is the still quiet voice that is subtle. It's easily missed or brushed aside with, I'll do it later, and eventually gets forgotten. The tell is more harsh. It has a meaningful impact. There's a good chance that we may address the issue, but most times it gets put down to having a bad day. The make is when the wheel comes off, your world falls apart. Sometimes it may take hitting rock bottom. Those of us with a feisty nature, that's us, and it sucks. Rock bottom is the consequences of our choices. We chose to ignore the ask and the tell. When we get someone else to do our inner work for us, we have no skin in the game. We've neither emotionally nor energetically bought into what needs addressing in order that we never get into that situation again. The dangerous part is that we become trapped in the illusion and now believe that we've done our inner work and now none of this heartache and misery makes sense. And we keep going to others to take the pain away for us. The real truth is that it will keep coming back until we give it the face time or acknowledgement that it requires of us. Those individuals will hit rock bottom, just like the rest of us did. I don't know who quoted this, but there will come a time when you will lose everything, including your mind. Once you've lost your mind, you'll be left with nothing but your soul. This is when you'll know you're invincible. I can tell you from personal experience that this process is not a fun walk in the park. At Faery Wood and Healing Owl, we work with you and get you to do the lion's share of the work. We help you to fully understand what the issue was. We give you the tools for you to get to grips with the problem, and then we empower you to heal yourself. This means that you emotionally and energetically take ownership of what needs addressing, so that you never get into that situation again. Jesus is not going to appear from nowhere and do the healing for us. We need to realize that we are of God. It is us who created our own shit, and as such, we also have the power to uncreate it too. The sooner that we realize and understand our true potential, the more harmonious and joyous life becomes. Our technological development has outstripped our spiritual development, and we're like kids in a playground with loaded guns. We preach all spiritual on the social media without actually walking the walk. It breeds a fake it until you make it mentality which only kids ourselves. We sacrifice our integrity for the sake of putting on a show of how we want to be seen by others. We've all heard the story of feeding the two wolves. If we feed our story of how we want to be seen, we feed our ego. If we're feeding our ego, we're not nourishing our soul. We can't be committed to our bullshit and our growth. It needs to be one or the other. Those in 5D who've completed their inner work are able to see through the empty words for what can best be described as the empty vessels that make the most noise. I can even go one step further and state that it gets quite disrespectful when getting fed empty excuses, compromised integrity, and lack of moral fortitude and being expected to believe it. Just like you cannot solve a problem on the same level that it was created, the caterpillars really don't understand the language of the butterfly. Let me explain what I mean by that. We all have a story. That's how we created our shit show in the first place. It has a vibration, which attracts more of the same. That's just how the universe works. Like attracts like, and there's no escape from it. When we go on social media, it's a trap, and 9 times out of 10 we fall into it. Our ego dresses up our story of how we want to be seen with fancy labels like, I'm being a spiritual warrior and being genuine. Or the worst one being that I'm helping other people who are in the same situation as me. I know, because I've used these same excuses myself too. Now, don't get me wrong. Both of these examples have great intentions, but here's where the wheel comes off. Neither are in alignment. It is the right idea, but the wrong time and the wrong place. I shall explain further. Firstly, from my own experience, when I was drowning in my own misery, I didn't need someone else to jump in there with me, especially if they were just as messed up as I was. I was looking for someone who'd already managed to get through it and had made it to the shore. I was looking for someone from the shore to throw me a rope so that I could pull myself out. I was looking for someone who could explain to me what the frig had just happened and how I'd gotten into the mess again. I was looking for someone to be able to teach me and give me the tools that I need in order for me to learn and grow. So, if we're totally honest with ourselves, we need to recognize these for what they really are. Excuses. Because whose benefit is it really for? And the answer is the ego. What is not taken into consideration when broadcasting our story of how we want to be seen on the social media is that we continue to fuel the original wound that got us into this mess. Even though we might have the best of intentions to be genuine and to lead from the front, we subconsciously trigger our wounds, which sets off the vibrations, attracting us more junk vibration, the very opposite of what we were trying to achieve. It's worth repeating again that we don't take into account the fact that we cannot solve a problem from the same level that it was created. We all wish to evolve into a more worthwhile state of being, and if you're serious about doing your inner work and genuinely need help, please get in touch. These are very exciting times, and Faery Wood is here to bring hope and assist those who wish to transition to 5D. We even host a variety of workshop retreats dedicated to inner work in order to give you the experience of 5D. These are not for the faint-hearted. Whether you realize it yet or not, you are the one that you've been waiting for. You just don't realize who you are yet. As soon as you choose to see the amazing time that we're in and recognize it for what it is, there's nothing to fear. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please help support us with a like, share or subscription. If you're ready to make a firm commitment to doing your inner work, no matter what, and would like us to assist you on your inward journey, you can find us at fairywood.ca. If you have some great ideas that you'd like us to cover for future videos or would like to join our team as we venture forward into 5D, please drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. See you on the next one, and remember, The sun always comes out after the rain, so make way, 'cause the light must shine.